I think now is the moment to be patient and also to see that the model is working for the companies, especially the ones that have those preferreds out, right? Because we're seeing that strategy is very close now to being able to hit the ATM on STRC again and picking up cheap Bitcoin below their average purchase price. We saw Strive retiring all of the Semler debt by issuing more preferreds. So it shows that there is an interest in the market for those products, and it allows those companies to raise funds, even though we're in very bad market sentiment right now on Bitcoin.
How many chairs are you sitting on right now?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Chair. None of what you will hear is financial advice, and this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. So let's start this one with the weekly MSTR buys. Strategy has issued common stock at the market, $90 million last week, and has purchased Bitcoin with it. I think the noise that we heard on X about it is that the average purchase price of those Bitcoin was quite high. They bought 1,142 Bitcoin, which means that their average purchase price was almost $79,000. And last week, obviously, we had the big crash in Bitcoin all the way down to 60K. I think part of the answer we got is that the ATM they hit on Monday, they were able to raise stock at $145. So it means that they also bought the Bitcoin on Monday, and at that time it was still the highest of the week. So that's probably the answer here. The question though is, why did they not take advantage of the super low Bitcoin prices at the end of the week? Any thoughts on this?
After having the stock hammer down, even though it rallied 25% on Friday, they didn't want to issue additional stock at lower prices, considering the fallout throughout the week, the previous days. That's my assumption, at least. And they're waiting for the stock to climb a bit higher before issuing more. But I guess we'll figure out that this week.
And the other interesting point that we might see this week is, are they able to hit the ATM on STRC again, right? Because STRC also was hammered down last week, but had a very steep recovery. It went briefly down to $93, $94, and now a few trading days later, we're back at 99.5 or higher, so almost back to par. And looking at the trading volumes of all the preferreds, but especially STRC, we're seeing a huge increase again, week over week, a 40% increase in volumes here on the preferreds.
Yeah, that's great to see, considering that, again, the price action of Bitcoin hovering around the $68,000 per Bitcoin. That's the lowest we've seen the price of Bitcoin since STRC actually has been issued or IPO'd back in July. So the fact that it's almost at par with these prices, and also sentiment, fear and greed index on Bitcoin has probably never been lower. I saw some tweets on X about how it's the lowest, even compared to FTX collapse, Mt. Gox, and all of the black swan events that you can think of for Bitcoin. So that's quite amazing to see the price action on STRC when you start looking at the bigger picture. And maybe one thought here is we've seen how the volume has also been picking up quite consistently on STRC in general, also on other preferreds. But I think STRC is definitely the instrument to watch for strategy. With the amount of volume picking up, and assuming that Bitcoin prices stay, I think we can see once Bitcoin price starts to really go higher, so we will see quite some big purchases from strategy, I think. We've seen that what they can do with combination with the common share and STRC. We saw at 23,000 Bitcoin buy in 1 week. I'm starting to think that if we see a perfect storm of the common share starting to rally, plus the STRC that starts to scale in terms of volume, and the price of Bitcoin rallying, considering that it's quite low right now, I wouldn't be surprised to see a 50,000 Bitcoin buy on a week, assuming all of these conditions are met. So just to give this into context a little bit as well, what could happen, right?
Yeah, I think might be doable because the buy you mentioned in January, that was on the back of a Bitcoin rally of, what was it, maybe 10%. It went from 90K to 97K, and that's when Strategy took advantage of this mini uptrend and issued a lot of common stock, and also STRC was at 100, and they managed to buy over 20,000 Bitcoin. So yes, if we imagine Bitcoin going from 70 back to 90, let's say, and the price itself is lower, and the percentage increase in Bitcoin and Strategy is higher, it might be possible, yeah. And one more interesting thing to mention on Strategy or Bitcoin here is that for the first time in a long time, we have the price of Bitcoin trading below the average purchase price of Strategy. So the average price currently sits at $76,000, and Bitcoin is at 69,000. So this means that for every Bitcoin that they currently buy, they're decreasing their average purchase price. And we saw that Strategy didn't file for bankruptcy after falling below 76. So big surprise there, I guess. All right, should we quickly move to the earnings call that we had last Thursday? It was on the most brutal day of the week, right? With Bitcoin going all the way down to 60K, and Strategy closing around a bit over $100, and that's on the exact date of the Strategy earnings call. What did you make of that call?
I think it was a great call. I would say that looked very professional as usual. It feels like there's also Fong Li, that I felt like he was stepping up a little bit as the CEO. Sailor maybe taking a bit of a step back, but makes sense considering that they want to have this transition. And we also saw Fong Li the next day go into a couple of media outlets and talk about strategy and digital credit, and I thought he did an amazing job. That's good to see that they're looking into this transition. And another thing that I thought was a bit intriguing was how they are looking into also getting involved a bit on this all this quantum FUD that's been going on. I still have mixed feelings about that, to be honest. I will need a bit more time to ponder on it, but still interesting point to it. And yeah, as usual, I think the most interesting for me was the Q&A at the end, and I think that they have a good mix of Bitcoin analysts and TradFi analysts. So I think that makes for a good mixture also for the different types of audiences.
Yeah, and I think they were just all very calm. Sailor, but also Fong Li, and yeah, as you said, very very professional, and yeah, they didn't seem phased by the market actions here in the short term, and they also reiterated that the focus will be on STRC. They're clearly seeing that it's their flagship product. It's where the biggest volume is possible, and the best product market fit. So yeah, it looks like the main goal for this year will be to scale STRC.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And talking about scaling STRC, one thing I was expecting to hear is the renewal or enhancement of the ATM programs on the common share and STRC, because they're not the biggest ones. They're actually, I think, getting a bit low on the amount of shares that they can issue. Yeah, I believe that will come soon enough. Maybe it wasn't such a big announcement that was worthy of the earnings call.
Yeah, but I agree. I think it will come soon enough, because it looks like that will be their preferred vehicle for raising funds now going into the year. Common stock and STRC, and they need to increase the ATM capability there. And maybe on that, just add a bit of perspective of why hitting the ATM on the common stock, even with an mNAV that is close to 1, makes sense. I think there's a great summary here from Ragnar that will pop up here. But basically, he's explaining why it makes sense. And to summarize, well, it increases the balance sheet of Strategy, which allows them more capacity to sell preferreds. So if you want to scale STRC, you need to have a big enough balance sheet to allow for that. So that's how they do it with the ATM. It also increases the trading volumes on the common stock. It supports the Bitcoin price in a bear market, or it can increase the price in a bull market, which overall improves the market sentiment around Bitcoin and Strategy, and then can lead to an mNAV expansion even, which is a bit counterintuitive here. But yeah, issuing shares could increase the mNAV if it's positive for the Bitcoin price. So I think that's just a nice summary of why it makes sense to continue to be aggressive and hitting the common stock ATM here. And maybe a data point that kind of supports Ragnar's analysis here is the next chart here, where we see the mNAV of Strategy over the past few months, and we see that even though they did hit the ATM quite aggressively now in December and going into this year, we did see a turnaround in mNAV, and it looks like it bottomed at 1 and now is turning around, and we're at almost 1.2 now again. So it's kind of confirming what Ragnar was saying here in his tweet, is that it could even be positive for the mNAV, what they're doing here.
Yeah, so before going into final thoughts, if you're in Vegas for the Bitcoin conference, check out FrontRun at Stadium Swim. It's hosted by Bitcoin Treasury's media, True North, and BitcoinTreasuries.net. It's basically the meetup for the Bitcoin Treasury crowd before the week gets hectic. So make sure to grab a ticket. And if you do, just use our link in the show notes below. All right. So that's all we had for you on Strategy today. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the market continues to be brutal on us. It hasn't been an easy 3 to 6 months for Bitcoin or Bitcoin Treasury companies, but I think now is the moment to be patient and also to see that the model is working for the companies, especially the ones that have those preferreds out, right? Because we're seeing that Strategy is very close now to being able to hit the ATM on STRC again and picking up cheap Bitcoin below their average purchase price. We saw Strive retiring all of the Semler debt by issuing more preferred. So it shows that there is an interest in the market for those products, and it allows those companies to raise funds, even though we're in very bad market sentiment right now on Bitcoin. So I think that's the positive to take out of the current times, and let's hope for a turnaround here soon.
Yeah, as you mentioned, looks like the turnaround is already happening a bit on the mNAV, at least on Strategy side. And we've also seen a few Bitcoin treasuries pick up some Bitcoin here and there, despite them not having any perpetual preferred. So the accumulation overall is still happening, albeit at a smaller scale. And let's see what the floor is on Bitcoin. I saw a few posts already on X that we already bottomed out. I'm not 100% sure, but looks like sentiment is already picking up from the low levels from last week. But yeah, maybe a bit too preemptive right now, as it's been only 1 week. All right, that's all we had for you today. So thanks for listening, and see you on the next one.
Bye bye, everybody. See you next time.
How many chairs are you sitting on right now?